Hello everyone, on behalf of my group mates, I am Aubrey Hazenth Bibuagas, and today we will be tackling about the phylum Annelida. Phylum Annelida is a very broad phylum belonging to the kingdom Animalia. The annelids are found in aquatic as well as terrestrial environments, and these are bilaterally symmetrical invertebrate organisms, and their segmented body distinguishes them from any other organism. They are characterized by the possession of a body cavity or cellum, movable bristles or setae, and a body divided into segments by transverse rings or annulations from which they take their name. All adult annelids other than siponculans possess at least one pair of chitinous bristles called setae. Moreover, all annelid species are vermiform or worm-shaped, that is, these animals, like those in a number of other phyla, are soft-bodied, reasonably circular in cross-section, and longer than they are wide. Unlike those of most other vermiform animals, however, the bodies of most annelids consist of a series of repeating segments. This serial repetition of segments and organ systems is known as metameric segmentation. The body of an annelid is often described as a tube within a tube. Annelids show the presence of a true cellum derived from embryonic mesoderm and protostomy. Hence, they are the most advanced worms. A well-developed and complete digestive system is present in earthworms with a mouth, muscular pharynx, esophagus, crap, and gizzard being present. The gizzard leads to the intestine and ends in an anal opening. As shown in the picture below, a cross-sectional view of a body segment of an earthworm has segments that is limited by a membranous septum that divides the coelomic cavity into a series of compartments. Chitinous hair-like extensions, anchored in the epidermis and projecting from the cuticle called setae, are present in every segment. The annelid outer body wall is generally flexible and can play an active role in locomotion. Moreover, the thin body wall can serve as a general surface for gas exchange if it is kept moist. Even when the epidermis secretes a protective cuticle, the cuticle remains permeable to both water and gases. For this reason, annelids are restricted to moist environments. The basic features of locomotion in annelids are most easily observed in the earthworm because it lacks appendages and parapodia. Movement involves extending the body, anchoring it to a surface with setae, and contracting body muscles. An earthworm moves using circular and longitudinal muscles as well as bristles called setae. The earthworm can push the setae out of its body to grab the soil around it. To move forward, the worm uses its setae to anchor the front of its body and contracts the longitudinal muscles to shorten its body. Annelids live in a diversity of freshwater, marine, and terrestrial habitats. They vary in what they feed on and how they obtain their food. They range from carnivores, herbivores, scavengers, deposit feeders, and filter feeders. Burrowing annelids, like the earthworm, play an important role in helping organic matter decompose. Leeches are either predators or parasites, hence denoting them as carnivorous annelids. While polychaetes live on the ocean floor, they may be sedentary filter feeders, active predators, or scavengers. As a major invertebrate phylum of the animal kingdom, the annelids numbers more than 9,000 species distributed among classes such as the marine worms or the polychaeta, which are divided into free-moving and sedentary or tube-dwelling forms, and the earthworms or oligochaeta, and the leeches or the Hirodinia, both belonging to class Clitellata.
Now, let's proceed to class Polychaeta and family Sibuglinidae. Firstly, we have the class Polychaeta. So, class Polychaeta generally possess at least one pair of eyes and at least one pair of sensory appendages or tentacles on the anteriormost part of the body, which is the peristomium. Their body wall is extended laterally into a series of thin, flattened outgrowths called parapodia. They are actually known for having many setae, as what you can see in the picture, and the labeled one. They have many setae. That's why they are called as bristle worms, or they are commonly known as bristle worms. Approximately 70% of all annelid species are placed in the class Polychaeta. The next is their lifestyle. Polychaetes use paddle-like parapodia or repeated body movements to move. Other polychaetes have a more active lifestyle as grazers, predators, or scavengers. Next, this is the anatomy of class Polychaeta. Then we actually have two general groups of Polychaeta. We have the errant polychaetes and sedentary polychaetes. Errant polychaetes, also called as free-moving forms, and sedentary is also called as tube-dwelling forms. Firstly, the example of errant polychaetes is clamworms. Then for the sedentary, we have the logworm. Then here we have the picture. And next we have the feeding of polychaeta. These polychaetes may have large spirals or feather-like tentacles, which they extend into the water to search for food. Errants are mostly predator and sedentary are filter or deposit feeders. Next, we have the reproduction of class Polychaeta. Their reproductive is exclusively sexual. Most polychaetes are gonochoristic, which means they're either male or female. However, some are sequential hermaphrodites, meaning they are one sex first and then change to being the other sex. Then next, we have the larval polychaetes. So polychaetes usually fertilize their eggs externally in the surrounding of water. Typically, the free-living embryo soon develops a digestive system and two rings of cilia. These rings are prototroch, telotroch, pygogium, chocophore, and metatroch. Under class polychaetes, we have the family Sibuglinidae. They are small but specially intriguing group of tube-dwelling polychaetes. The longest part of their body is the trunk, which contains a pair of uninterrupted coelomic cavities. Most sibuglinids are gonochoristic with male and female gonads located in the trunks of separate individuals. Details of fertilization and early development are known from only a few species, and even then, knowledge is limited. And here is the summarized characteristics of the family Sibuglinidae. So they mostly live in mud on ocean floor, and they have no mouth or digestive system, and their sexes are separate. Then here is the anatomy of Sibuglinidae. And then that's it for class Polychaetes and family Sibuglinidae.
Ichthyians is like a serpent, but commonly known as spoonworms. They live in sandy or muddy burrows or in rock crevices. However, Ichthyians are not segmented as adults. It is also reported that the segment column appeared during embryogenesis, distinct segmentation during larval development. They have a proboscis serves as an food collection, muscular organs or anal sacs, bearing numerous funnels or nephrosomes, bear additional setae in the form of a ring. They extend its proboscis and grasping some object before pulling its body forward. They swim by the use of the proboscis and contractions of the body wall. They are deposit feeders. The proboscis is moved by the action of cilia, and then the sides of the proboscis is curled inward to form an ciliated channel. The digestive tract is contained with trunk and very long convoluted opening. They are excreted by methamphedia, and then the final urine excreted through nephrodophore. They are dioecious and lack of distinct gonad. The protostomus where the production of a tropocore larva, and embryos is not determined at fertilization. Instead, nephridophores is where the fertilization occurs. The life cycle of Ichthyians, the segments occur first in the early segmentation larva, and then the secondary loss of the segments appears in the worm-shaped larva. Siphonculans. So Siphonculus means a little tube. It has 162 species that in molecular studies they are in fact polychaetes. They live in shallow water, muddy or sandy sediments and empty mallow shells or polychaetes tubes. Siphonculans has a reversible and fully retractable introvert. They have multicellular bodies or urns in coelomic fluid. The tentacles connected to a series of ocular sacs or compensatory sacs. The lifestyle of the Siphonculans, they contract the body wall musculature. Introvert bears mucus-covered tentacles. They perform burrowing and crawling. The introvert is fully retractable into the body. They are deposit detritus feeders. They ingest mud directly. The digestive tract is U-shaped. So since they are lack of circulatory system, the tentacles, introvert or body wall with coelomic fluid will be serve as a circulatory medium. They are dioecious. They perform asexual reproduction by budding. Gonads only prevalent during reproductive era. The gametes released into the xylem and then taken up by nephridia and released by the paired nephridiophores. Developmental modes of Siphonculans: first, without a pelagic stage; second, with a lysotrophic trochophore larva; third, trochophore and pelagospera; and the last one was lysotrophic trochophore and a plancotrophic pelagospera.
Good day everyone, I am Eugene Rex Girl and now I'm going to discuss the class Oligochaeta. Over 4,000 different oligochaete species have been identified. The majority of oligochaete species are found in freshwater or terrestrial settings. Only approximately 6.5% of them are marine. Probably the most well-known member of this subclass is the common earthworm or Lubricus terrestris. This species has drawn a
Today I
lot
will
of
be
attention for
discussing
its
about the class
capacity to
Cryptolata,
transfer toxins
specifically the
to
class
birds and other
Hirdinia.
terrestrial vertebrates. For its distinguishing characteristic, it has a few number of setae per segment provide dirt grip. Next is it lives in freshwater or soil. Most are cross-fertile monoecious, and most intelligent animals with regeneration. It has a clitellum or it secretes a cocoon, and its castings is to fertilize and enhance soil. It has a parapodia or it has no head, and also it is a hermaphrodite or an animal having both a female and male reproductive organs. To move, oligochaetes produce a continuous succession of localized circular and longitudinal muscle contraction and relaxation or peristaltic waves. As opposed to the direct waves, these are referred to as retrograde waves. Setae that the worm protrudes at the proper intervals during the cycles of muscle contractions and relaxation help anchor these parts of the worm to prevent them from sliding backward. They inhabit a variety of environments, range widely in size, and consume a range of organic materials. They are mostly burrowing animals that consume living bacteria, rotifers, nematodes, fungus, and other microbes in addition to dead organic waste. Earthworms have both sexes. These separate hosts allow sperm and eggs to emerge into a sophisticated cocoon that is secreted by the clitellum. Few oligochaete species are parthenogenetic, particularly those that are found in terrestrial settings. Parthenogenesis is a form of reproduction in which an egg can develop into an embryo without being fertilized by a sperm. The earthworm life cycle, like many others, starts with an egg. With an egg, a young earthworm develops until it's ready to hatch. The egg is encased in an egg casing called a cocoon. So the cocoon tends to be a lemon shape, but the specific shape varies between species. Next is hatchling. Look just like a mini earthworms, they're just smaller and paler. Next is juvenile. Earthworms look very much like adults but are missing a saddle or a clitellum. Next is being adult or a sexually mature. Earthworm can be easily recognized through the presence of saddle. Next mycelium and its move along the earthworm until it comes off the head end.
Today I will be discussing about the class Cretellata, specifically the class Hirdinia. The subclass Hirdinia includes the leeches, approximately 500 to 630 described species, which believed to have evolved from oligochaete stock. Here we have the distinguishing characteristic of Hirdinia. Most of them occupy freshwater or terrestrial habitats, and only a small portion of them of the species are marine. Like oligochaetes, the body plan of the Hirdidae varies a little among species. Conspicuously absent are parapodia, other specialized respiratory appendages, and head appendages. They also lack setae and has continuous coelomic spaces, largely filled with connective tissues. So for their lifestyle or behavior, leeches do not move by generating peristaltic waves. Instead, they locomote over solid substrate by using suckers as temporary anchors. For their feeding, they are ectoparasitic. Either they feed on blood of other invertebrates or more commonly on blood of vertebrates. For their reproduction, adult leeches are simultaneous hermaphrodites, and a free-living larval stage is absent from the life cycle, and only few segments are directly involved in gametogenesis. For their life cycle, as shown in the figure in the left side, the leech spends 3 to 4 days gestating before depositing eggs. Then hatching occurs after 5 to 7 days after incubation of the parents in the ventral surface. After hatching, the brood leech stays under the venters of their parents for 7 to 14 days. Then they leave and becomes mature after 10 to 15 days. That's all for the subclass Shirdineae. Thank you and God bless.